What exactly happened to Overkill's The Walking Dead, and why did the game fail with around 5 years of development and over $8 million put into the game? In August 2014, Starbreeze announced that it had signed a deal with Skybound Entertainment to make Overkill's The Walking Dead, which was to be originally released way back in 2016. The project promised Payday's gameplay meets The Walking Dead's universe, and seeing as Payday 2 was a huge success, there was no way this game was going to fail. Overkill's The Walking Dead was to be built on Starbreeze's Diesel game engine, the same engine that they used to make Payday the Heist and Payday 2, and they 100% owned that engine.
From Skybound, creator of The Walking Dead. I'm a huge fan of what Overkill and Starbreeze have been able to do with Payday 2. It's just an amazing cooperative game, and because of everything that they've done and how cool that game is, I'm super excited to be able to announce that Skybound is partnering with Overkill to do a Walking Dead game, and I'm happy to say that it is the co-op game that all the Walking Dead fans have been waiting for. And I'm here for you, but if you have any questions, please talk to Almir. So it's going to be really cool. We're going to be giving you some more news about it very soon. And for Payday 2 fans out there, this is for you.
The first warning sign that this game was going to have problems is when it said that it would be using the same game engine as Payday 2, the Diesel engine, which was originally developed by Grin for their racing game and first used in 2002 to make the game Ballistics. Even though it was originally made for racing games, specifically the racing game Ballistics, it had been used mostly to make shooting games. Those games include Tom Clancy's Ghost Recon Advanced Warfighter, Tom Clancy's Ghost Recon Advanced Warfighter 2, Bionic Commando Rearmed, Bionic Commando Rearmed 2, Wanted Weapons of Fate, Terminator Salvation, Lead and Gold Gangs of Wild West, Payday the Heist, and last but not least, Payday 2. So the engine can definitely handle shooting games, otherwise all these games wouldn't have been made in the engine and wouldn't have been made possible in the engine. Now, it might have been a good or decent engine back in the day, but it started to show its age around Payday 2, even with the engine being heavily modified since its first 2001 version. Unfortunately, I can't really tell you exactly the advantages and disadvantages of the game engine because I can't really find much information on it, and it's also not available publicly like CryEngine and Unreal and just some other engines are, but we can look at the problems of Payday 2 like performance, stability, graphics, physics, just to name a few. I would also say driving mechanics, but I think that's mostly on the way that they implemented driving in Payday 2. I mean, it just sucks and it's trash, and it's kind of hilarious that the driving is so bad in Payday 2, yet this engine was made for driving in racing games. I guess we might never know how bad exactly the engine is, but we can say for sure there are definitely better engines that they can use nowadays without all the hassle and without all the extra time spending on things just to fix the engine and get the engine capable of what they need it to be. I guess we may never know how bad exactly the engine is, but we can say for sure that there are definitely better engines that they could have used for Overkill's The Walking Dead to begin with. Now, it's understandable that they used an engine that they owned completely for their earlier games, such as Payday the Heist and Payday 2, since they didn't have much money, but since the success of Payday 2, they could have bought rights to some other engine or use a free engine that they could have used for Overkill's The Walking Dead instead. Some of the other engines that they could have used that were out at the time are Unreal Engine 4, Godot, Unity, CryEngine, all being available to them at the time, and some of them relatively cheap. I mean, they're already cheap when your game is raking in millions of dollars. I'm sure you can spend some money to use a better engine. But instead of doing anything like that, they decided it was best to start making Overkill's The Walking Dead in the engine they already know, the Diesel engine. Around 9 months in development of Overkill's The Walking Dead in the Diesel engine, in May 2015, Starbreeze announced that it had bought the Valhalla game engine with shares worth around $8 million to use in their new titles, now including Overkill's The Walking Dead. So now, after around 9 months since the game's announcement, they are switching engines and rebuilding the game in the new Valhalla engine. Now that alone might seem like kind of a problem when the game is supposed to launch in 2016 and it's already May of 2015, but it was made even worse when the game engine they bought for roughly $8 million was complete garbage and hardly usable. And in the words of the developers, the engine had potential, but it wasn't ready to develop a game yet. And to quote another developer, Valhalla,
"You a piece of shit."
Since they then moved from a bad engine to a completely unusable engine, the game got delayed from 2016 to 2017. Then in 2017, Valhalla was still so unusable and progress was so slow that they decided to ditch the Valhalla engine, the engine that they just paid $8 million for, and wasting around 2 years of progress and over $8 million, they switched to the Unreal Engine, which they should have used in the first place. Now, switching to the Unreal Engine, which at first may seem great that they are not using a broken engine like Valhalla or just a bad engine like the Diesel game engine, the Unreal Engine is capable of what they need it to do, but switching to the Unreal Engine caused 2 new problems. The first big problem being all the progress that they had made so far in the past 2 years in the Valhalla engine had to be completely scrapped, and they had to start from scratch again. And the second problem being most of the developers were not familiar with the Unreal Engine and now had to learn how to use the engine at the same time that they were making the game, and they had now less than 2 years to make and finish the game from scratch in an engine they were not familiar with. According to the developers, development would sometimes involve 100-hour weeks, and engineers and programmers would end up sleeping in the office, which was made even worse when 2018 came and the producers realized the game might miss its launch window and asked the staff to put even more hours into the game to prevent it from being delayed again. But because the staff were taking so many hours, the staff began to lose morale, which in turn probably caused them to be less productive, the hours that they did work, because of less motivation to work on the project. On top of all the work hours, the game never had a clear vision of what it was going to be, and the designers were always changing what their vision of the game was, and always had something that they wanted to change about the game or something new that they wanted added to the game. The game released November 6, 2018, releasing almost 5 years after it was first announced. It only released on PC though, with console versions available for pre-order supposedly coming later in the year. It was expected to sell millions of copies, however when the game released, it only sold around 61,000 copies on Steam, making roughly 3.6 million, not even enough to cover the cost of the Valhalla game engine that they purchased in the middle of development, that at the end of the day they ended up not even using, let alone to cover the cost of all the other expenses and purchases that they have made throughout the development of this game. The game was then slammed with bad reviews because of its bland gameplay and poorly designed levels. Because of its almost instant failure also, it started the end of Starbreeze, with the CEO being fired almost instantly and staff being fired or quitting, and some being accused of insider trading, with their offices even getting raided by the police and some employees being arrested because of insider trading. With all that happening, to put the final nail in the coffin, Robert Kirkman and his studio, Skybound Entertainment, pulled the contract from Starbreeze terminated the contract between them, which pulled the Walking Dead license from Starbreeze, making it so they can't work on the game anymore, and they can't update the game or finish what was promised in the game, essentially canceling all updates that were supposed to come to the game and that 10 years of support the game was supposed to get, and also canceling the console release of the game, which lost them even more money, and delisting the game from Steam so it can no longer be purchased, essentially killing Starbreeze and the game. The game was considered to be average at best, considered to be boring, repetitive, unbalanced, and glitchy. If you are playing by yourself, good luck. You're mostly going to be losing this game as it is balanced around 4 people, and the balance does not change depending on how many people are in your group. The sound mechanic is also not fully fleshed out, as there are 3 sound levels, and getting the first one spawns a horde of zombies, the second one spawns a bigger horde of zombies, and then if you reach max sound level and it starts turning red, then it will stay there and permanently spawns an infinite amount of zombies, and it's huge amount of zombies at a time, and you can get this at any point during the level, and that makes it almost impossible to complete the levels if you manage to get that red sound level 3. It will be almost impossible to complete the levels, especially with how cramped the levels are and how little space you have to move around. So unless you have the absolute best gear in the game, or you have a group of 4, your chances of beating any level in this game are extremely low. The human AI is also very stupid. Not only do they just stand there most of the time and like you walk up and smack them in the face as they're shooting at you, but they also make a ton of noise and always shoot, but you would think they're also trying to survive. They're survivors, so why would they want to make noise and get a horde of zombies coming their way? The mechanic of getting weapons also is bad, as you get them randomly after completing levels, and possibly some extra weapons depending on if you found the containers hidden within the level, and it's completely random. So if you're a sniper build or a SMG build or assault rifle build or whatever build you have, then you have to hope you get a better sniper instead of a shotgun, or a better SMG instead of a sniper, depending on what your build is. And sometimes it can take forever to get the better gun that you actually want, because it will start giving you random guns that you'd probably not even using. Of course, you do have multiple different characters that you're probably going to build up eventually, but if you're not using those characters right now, some of the weapons that you get don't matter. You can also always dismantle attachments or guns that you don't need to get some crafting parts. The same thing also goes for attachments too. It's basically the same system as the weapon system, and good luck getting attachments that you actually want for the weapon that you want, because there is so many different attachments of so many different qualities for just all the weapons, that getting an attachment for your specific weapon and that specific attachment that you want, I mean, good luck. There's also a character in the game that you can choose to play as soon as you start playing the game, but if you choose that character, if you choose to play that character at first and then build them up, later in the story, that character is no longer playable and you can't pick them anymore, so you just leveled up that character and built that character up for absolutely no reason, because you're not even going to be able to play that character later on. So you then, when that character goes away, you then have to pick a different character, but the problem is when you pick a different character, if you only played that character, then you now are starting at level 1 again, and your character is not leveled up, and they probably have the basic level 1 weapons, and you're not going to do as much damage as your other character did. So now you're going to have to do even more of the previous missions before you can do the harder missions that you're on, because you just lost your main character. Luckily for me though, that didn't happen, but I didn't end up playing that game, Overkill's The Walking Dead, for that long anyway when the game released. I mainly put most of my hours in this game just recently, so that part didn't really affect me, but I was playing with someone who happened to choose that character, and I only met them after they already started leveling that character, and I'm like, you might want to start choosing a different character now and leveling them up, because you're not going to be able to play that character later on. But there is a ton wrong with this game, and there are some good things about this game, but most of it is wrong, and there's just some weird decisions and some basic things that could have been changed. Just some stupid design choices, and for a game that was supposed to last around 10 years and be an ever-changing game, it sure was already repetitive with its locations, objectives, and missions. You would think if you want the game to be ever-changing, you would think somehow you would make some either randomly generated levels that you could play through, or when you play through the levels, they change a little bit more, and you know, maybe you have to go this way this time instead of this way, or maybe have more ways to approach different objectives, but the levels just weren't that great. Overkill's The Walking Dead in 2022 is pretty much dead, with 0 people playing the game as of right now, June 24th, 4 a.m. I almost said 4 p.m., but it's 4 a.m. right now. And a 2.8 30-day player average. So in the last 30 days, there's an average of 2.8 players, basically 3 people. But if you just so happen to be one of those few people who have this game and want someone to play with, there still are people playing this game. Just go to the discussion page of the game. Just before you launch the game, there should be like a discussion button below the button to play the game, to launch the game, and just click on it, and there should be a couple discussions of people looking for other people. And as always, you can always just get into the game, see how many people are on through the Steam charts, and if there are some people on, you can try quick play. I've tried quick play a few times when people are on this game, and it works really fast. If there is even just 1 to 2 people on, I have found a match instantly with that other person, and even they were blown away that I was playing the game, and they're like, wow, I didn't think anybody else played this game. And that is it for the story of Overkill's The Walking Dead. The game is unavailable for purchase, so if you don't have the game, good luck trying to play it. The only way that you can play it is if a friend who already owns the game shares it through Steam, or if you for some reason buy this game for like $900 off of one of those random shady websites like G2A or something. I don't even think G2A has it, but there's some shady websites like that sell the keys, a couple Steam keys. There's only a couple of them for like $900. Don't do it. I know one person for some reason is gonna do it, but just don't do it, okay? The game is not worth playing, at least not for $900. That's what I'm gonna say. It's not worth playing for $900. Though if someone already has the game and you want to give it a go, and they're gonna share the game with you through Steam, then hey, give it a go. Play the game. Get like a friend or something, maybe a different friend, because obviously if a friend shares you the game, you can't play with them because they're sharing you the game, and it would kick you out of the game if you're playing the game, or if they start playing the game. But yeah, anyways, that's going to be it for this video. So hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, make sure to hit that like button, leave a comment below, tell me what you guys think about Overkill's The Walking Dead, and if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button because you guys want to be subscribed, and I'll see you guys next time.